Okay. Okay. Right, done. So, hi Carl. Nice to see you here. I was just saying that how Ibiza clubs look during the day.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually at night, but to see what goes on into somewhere like this place here it's just incredible.
This is the privilege we're sitting in, by the way, which used to be the Coup Club, which was one of the first ever clubs in Ibiza.
Yeah.
Do you remember those days?
Yeah, I do. I remember when I first came to the island, which was about 84, 85, the first place I wanted to go to was the Coup Club, because in England there was no open air club or over there clubbing at all. And I remember looking through this magazine called DJ International magazine of some of the best clubs in the world, and one of them was Coup. And I really was interested in going there because you used to have all the celebrities from the early 80s come here to hang out, to be seen by the pool and everything. I just thought that was the coolest thing. So this is one of the reasons why I came to Ibiza in the first place, but I wanted to get a Coup t-shirt. That was my mission, to come here, get a Coup t-shirt so I could show my friends that I've actually been to one of the most amazing clubs in the world. And of course it didn't have a roof at the time.
It was completely open, right?
Completely open air. And I thought, what about if it rained? I said, oh, no, it doesn't rain in Ibiza.
That's just and do you remember the music back then?
Yeah. A lot of the music at the time was Euro trash, pop music, they called it Euro trash, and but also some records that were really great at the time. You know, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Two Tribes, and this sort of thing. Any Duran Duran records got played. Mark Harmon, Tainted Love, any of these records at the time was getting played in the clubs, and for me, it was exciting that this new waves kind of era of music was being played. Also with the more commercial Spanish kind of Europop records as well, that the Spanish knew, because primarily when Coup opened, it was basically just for the Spanish people to come here on holiday and to have their holiday clubbing. Why they decided to build one of the biggest clubs in the world and one of the smallest islanders in the world, I have no idea, but it still exists.
Yeah. I think there's some great pictures actually in the, I think they're probably still there in Reception of Pikes, where you've got like Grace Jones, Freddie Mercury, Wham, all those people that used to come and hang out here. I think one of the first times I ever played with you in Ibiza, or certainly saw you in Ibiza, was actually at Space, but when we were DJing, we used to DJ on the bar.
Well, the thing is, which was the open air terrace, again we're partying outside under the sun. And what was really great about that area was also you had the planes going across, which you never really heard before when you was out clubbing, hearing a plane landing, because obviously we're near an airport. But the terrace was always somewhere that you went to cool off. So there was never really, a big sound system. Nobody really had any mixtapes to play or anything, and at the time certainly there wasn't any CDs. So you always had a DJ that come and play that certain amount of vinyl. But it was never really thought of that the DJ would be a main part of the entertainment for the terrace. So they just decided to, where there's a little bit of room on the bar, put two turntables and an old Spanish mixer, and even have the turntables not even face the dance floor; they were facing the optics for the drinks. So I mean, it's good for the DJ because they can just go and get what they wanted while they were playing. But he always took it back to the crowd, which was a bit different. But obviously times have changed a lot from that point. But that's how unimportant the DJs were at the time.
How do you think? I mean, one of the things that's come up a lot during the Burn competition in the last couple of weeks, the contestants have been asking me is, one of the things that happens a lot now is, someone makes a record and they get thrust out onto the circuit. They don't really have any DJ experience. How important for you was those days of grinding it out as a resident, week in, week out, in terms of formulating your style?
Yeah, I think a lot of it really was to do with confidence, more than anything else. When I first went out with my turntables and my speakers and that, and I was there to play a certain array of music to an audience, I was almost too scared to even approach the decks, because the attention is on you so much directly. But if you can get over that kind of insecurity in some ways, and then go, well, I'm here to play a certain type of music, I hope that you like it, and this is the best that I've got, and hope that that's good enough, and you can kind of get over that hump of being scared about what you're doing, and taking on a residency, eventually you will end up with that confidence, because people are coming into that club. They want to be social, they want to meet people, they want to have a beer or two, and they want to dance a little bit to the records that they like. So with a residency, you can kind of toy with that, apart from, it's really difficult to give a part of your own self to a residency, unless you create your own night, of course. So you have to patent it to the ways of the management, basically rules of what you do to keep punters into the club. So I remember playing at a top ranked venue, and I was actually going for a residency with this company, and their policy was really that you had to play within the realms of the top 40 hit records, and if you didn't play enough top 40 hit records, you're sacked.
Right.
So if you was playing the OJs and all sorts of records that you loved, and you played maybe 22 of the pop records, and then you're going to be out on your ear. You know, the bouncers will come along, told by the management, away you go. We'll find another DJ. So it was difficult to.
Well, that still happens today, really. In I know a lot of kind of VIP situations around the world. The DJs are very limited in terms of what they can do.
Yeah, and you have to be really careful about that. I mean, the thing is now you can go out and say, right, I'm only going to play deep house. But if the crowd really want to hear pop tunes, and then you're really in the wrong place for that. So how you got the gig in the first place is difficult misunderstanding in a way. Is the reason why you would get chucked off if you didn't play those records. But if you could kind of say to yourself, okay, I've got this residency, I pander to the ways, but inside of that, be clever enough to play what I like also, you can almost reverse it. Because you've still got the dance floor, you've still got people buying drinks, and you're clever enough to be able to amalgamate the two. And which to the point, it can actually, what you like playing actually can override the top 40 hit records. And that hopefully, keeps you in the job.
Another question I've got to get in for you quickly, kind of change the subject to the other end of your career. Another thing that a lot of the contestants have been asking me about is, especially now I moved to America, is, what's the story for the underground in the US? Now, they see all the headlines with all the big EDM DJs and all the kind of success and the private jets that come with it. But I used you as an example actually of someone that has kind of pioneered with your arena setup. Can you just tell us a bit about the thinking behind that and how that's been going? Because you've been at Ultra for many years now. You've invited me a couple of times. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you there. And the mad thing about me still being intertwined with the latest craze with the EDM sound is the idea that I still am able to play the music that I play all over Europe and still bring it onto American dance floors and have the DJs that represent that sound to be able to play within the embodiment of a festival. And the thing is, I've always done it anyway. Even if I wasn't playing a festival, all the clubs that I play in the US have nothing to do with commercial success, or have everything to do with what I do and what I believe in, and that is the thing that's kept me where I am. And I've never really followed the path of the EDM way.
Explain this in the simplest way. Instead of you playing on the main stage, that you built your own room.
Yeah,
that's basically. It's a very big room.
We did. I did build my own room, and the thing about it is, it's like if I do my own party. Initially, it's to do with that people like what I'm doing as a whole. But when I kind of build a structure like we do with Ultra, to say the least, you've got people who are primarily going there for the main stage. But if they can see on the other side of the coin that there's actually a future to what you're listening to and enjoying, and you can basically feel that there's more water in the well of this type of music, and then we're here for you to then take the next step into your musical journey.
Did you realise at the time when you started it was going to be the place where all the underground DJs would want to come and play?
Yeah, when we started, I just thought, well, we'll just see how we go, because what's pushing and pulling with the overground and the underground scene is that how many people go to these things in a sense of business. But the idea really was to still have the festival which still had musical integrity. Yeah. So when I was inviting all the DJs, I'd invited all the DJs based on their musical integrity, not because they're number 2 in DJ Magazine or number 4 or number 10. It's based on what you do. And I think that once you've got that platform and you're able to get those DJs to do what they do, you'll find that they're the ones that are giving their heart and soul to the dance floor, which is an experience for anyone to listen to. And of course, every year, the expanse of that got bigger and bigger because people, when they were walking away from Ultra, they had the experience of all, but from my point of view, they had experience by what I believe in. And I think that is a thing that's really created such an essence and an ethos of the Carl Cox and Friends Arena.
You've created an environment, though, that can, in a way, I've always thought environment is key to delivering underground music, but you've come up with something in a I don't know, by chance, by accident, by design, where you're actually giving people quite a big production. It's not the same kind of explosions that you get on the main stage, but it's still it's a kind of this size, a kind of wow experience.
Yeah, it's not normal what we've done at all. When we started, we just had a white tent a few lights here and there, some smoke and some par cans and some and a few Rary lights. But the idea really was not to get too wowed by the production, but also have the experience of musically what it should sound like sonically. I always relied on the sound system first, and everything else was a bonus afterwards.
You were a sound system guy when I met you.
And many years ago, as you know, I used to run a sound system. Actually, I had to make a choice between running my sound system full time or following my path as a DJ, because both of those elements were pushing towards where I was going to end up. And I still love my sound system, don't get me wrong, but the thing is about it now, I'll leave that to the professionals. I decided eventually to go as a DJ, and it ended up being the right choice for me. So when we produced a room, for me, no matter about all the lights and everything, the sound system first. If the rig's good, the music will sound great, and then everything else around it is like a bonus. And the thing is with Ultra, because of our devoted nation, well, the idea is that we both grow together. So we were really loyal to Ultra to develop that room into what it is today. And they really wanted to show, if you had a concept idea of what you can do to build a festival within a festival, then this is what can happen.
I mean, Miami's always been one of the most progressive cities in America. Sometimes it almost feels like you've left America and gone a bit European when you play there. But you took it to Vegas, so how's that been with EDC?
Yeah, Vegas
which is definitely a kind of the palace of EDM.
Yeah, it really is, because every single DJ almost is playing in all the clubs there, and it is all EDM based. And what's been difficult about this scenario now is that it's almost like a cabaret show, because every DJ has to play a certain type of records that is commercially accessible to create business in Las Vegas. And the thing is about that is, if you go to each and every
it's like a giant version of what you were saying before with the resident DJ, and in their own sort of way they are restricted to kind of top 40. I might not call it top 40, but
yeah, that's right. And they're restricted. And the thing is, it will last as long as it lasts, where people want to move on to something more conceptual. And Vegas has always been a bit skeptical of the underground music scene, in the sense of people who kind of buy into it. You know, I mean, my kind of show is not like a Celine Dion show where she'll sing all the favourite records, have a bit of production behind it, and you walk away with an experience. My experience is after hours, and after hours is based on the music I play from a European point of view. The music you'll hear in Ibiza will be the music you're going to hear in Vegas. I won't change anything based on.
But you took the arena to EDC, right?
We took the arena to EDC, and which is the same type of concept we've done with Ultra, and which is actually amazing, by the way, because Ultra, EDC has now been seen as one of the biggest festivals in the world, and our small little independent room at the back hosts 20,000 people, but you still got 10 or 15,000 people for the rest of the festival. So we've got a really good average of people coming to still hear the type of DJs and the type of music I still want people to hear in America, let alone Vegas. Now, when you have that amount of people going for that type of music, there has to be maybe 1 or 2 or 3 clubs in Vegas that can actually handle that. And hopefully with what I'm doing at the Light Club, which is basically promoted by Cirque du Soleil, the club's actually great. So you can turn all the lights down, you can still have a really good vibe in there after hours. So my show doesn't start at 11 and finish at 1. My show starts at 2:30 and finishes at 6 or 7 o'clock. So you have people who are in there for the music and in there for the right reasons. And for me, you can see that there's a slight turn of events now why people go to Vegas. Before it was about the tables, seeing some shows and everything else that goes with it. Now it's become music first. So as long as I can try and keep doing what I'm doing, in the end of the day, you know, the whole EDM and the balance between the underground and overground will balance out. It won't be top heavy on one side. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I've known him for many years, and I know how I started and how I got into music from my father, because he basically was buying the music and I was exposed to the music that he was buying. So how did you get exposed to the music to begin with? What was kind of like your first entry, your first record that you thought that this record is for me? That's what makes me who I am.
It was well, it was my dad, actually, again.
Oh, okay.
He was a big kind of record buyer, and I kind of, radio was a big thing for me as a kid as well. But the first record I don't think I actually bought it, but the first record I remember cherishing was actually T-Rex, Ride a White Swan, which was a record that he loved. So it's kind of, it was older than my years really. But
Well,
I
one of my
remember
favourite
him,
records. Sorry, but I'm
Right.
going to stop you. One of my favourite records is Metal Guru.
right? Yeah.
So it's the same.
Yeah, so my first
same,
ever album I really did buy with my own money was, I remember it was from Chris's record shop in Gravesend, and it was Slider, which was the album. So
Bloody hell.
T-Rex, so I'm a Mark Bolan fan.
Well, I didn't know that.
And I ended up
because
living in Barnes, where he died for actually.
with the
for
tree
many
that he hit
years.
was his last
exactly,
hit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
in his many, that was massive. That anyway, when that happened, but
I was off from about 7 or 8 years old. I was sent off to boarding school actually, and I used to listen to Radio Luxembourg under the covers, and listen to, funny enough, to Tony Prince. I didn't know
That's right.
who was Tony Prince at the time, but and then Emperor Roscoe, and I kind of subconsciously kind of started moving towards kind of black music, soul music, funk. So that's what I liked. So it was funkadelic, James Brown, and I just kind of, it's almost before you can consciously realise that you're into something that's not the mainstream. That's kind of where I was heading. And then growing up in Kent, I just happened to hang out with a lot of people that were older than me that used to go to the Lacey Lady in the Gold Mine, see Chris Hill and everything, and then come back with kind of, it was the first time I realised there were such things as like imports, and that there was this other world of kind of getting music that no one else had. And it was all obviously based around soul and funk and kind of rarity, having something that nobody else had. So you felt like you were in a club and a gang. So that was kind of the journey. But when I was telling this lot that I wanted to be in a band, and then I saw a DJ at a school disco one day, and then I realised that was much nicer way of making a racket. And so I did go through a few years of like you did of running around with sound systems, because I think back then none of us thought for a second you could make a living being a DJ. It was something we wanted to be around, so we kind of grabbed everything, didn't we, that you could to be involved in it. So it was, I had a sound system too, and I did weddings and bar mitzvahs. I remember doing bar mitzvahs and like people pinning money on dresses, and whilst you were using that to kind of fund your real thing of running. Like my thing at the beginning was just running my own parties. So that's the way it started.
Yeah, because the first time I got exposed to you and your music, because we couldn't get your radio show where I lived in Carshalton. But we was exposed to you at Caister Weekenders, Soul Weekenders in Great Yarmouth. And to be honest, I think you was the whitest black man playing soul music at the time. Because the music you were playing was, you sourced a lot of those records beyond anyone else, as far as I was concerned. And you was considered one of the youngsters amongst the old funksters, DJs at the time. So we're going back at the beginning, of where we are. But the thing was about it was special. I would say the music you was playing was quite specialised. Did you kind of consciously work towards that?
I don't know.
Being specialist.
I remember. I think there was that thing of being elitist. I've still got records in my collection where I pull out and I stuck white labels on them to cover up the labels. I mean, this is something you used to do back then, and I used to write different things on. I remember records like by Kenny Burke or Charles Airland, and I'll show you copies where I've written, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, covering up the sleeves and everything, because it was all about having the music that no one else had, and so there was that kind of, and it wasn't just to get rarer and rarer records. Obviously, I liked the music I was playing, but I don't know. I found the level. I mean, if you think back to there was people around us at that time that actually, after a few years, you realise were far more specialists, like Paul Murphy and like Bob Jones and people like that, and Giles himself in the end. But I always wanted to entertain people as well. There's an ego attached to DJing there, and I wanted to. But I've always got bored as a DJ just playing. I always wanted to play my music. It's like, this is the music I've discovered. I'm going to inflict it on you, but I'm going to entertain you at the same time. Play it. So that was it.
Yeah.